Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news from the Diamond. With all the gravitas of someone who has spent 2 decades in the press box, witnessing the rise and fall, the legends and the underdogs, I bring you a story of triumph, heartbreak, fierce competition, and legacy, one that will echo through the annals of Major League Baseball for years to come. Hook. What does it take to win the Most Valuable Player award in the American League in 2025? Is it staggering power, leadership, sheer statistical dominance? Or is it a mix of intangibles that only the voters sense? Tonight we ask, did Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees truly deserve to beat the breakout phenom Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners in what is arguably the tightest American League MVP race in years? How narrow was the margin? And what does this tell us about how we evaluate value in baseball today? If you thought you knew what MVP means, his story will challenge that. Stay with me. The contenders, legacy, and new force. Let's set the stage. Aaron Judge, experience, power, and a heavyweight resume. Aaron Judge, at age 35, long had been a recognized cornerstone of the Yankees franchise. He entered 2025 with 2 AL MVP awards already to his name, 2022 and 2024. In 2025, he logged a batting average of .331, an on-base percentage of .457, and a slugging percentage of .688, giving him an OPS, on-base plus slugging, of .1144. He hit 53 home runs, collected 114 RBIs, and led many of the offensive categories in the American League. He plays in New York under intense spotlight and carries the weight of the Yankees' rich history on his broad shoulders. Cal Raleigh, a rising force, a catcher rewriting history. On the other side, Cal Raleigh. At 28, he exploded onto the scene in 2025 in spectacular fashion. He led the majors with 60 home runs, an astonishing feat, especially for a player whose primary position is catcher. But beyond just power numbers, Raleigh delivered 125 RBIs, led his team to one of their best seasons in franchise history, and performed at arguably the toughest position in the game, behind the plate. In many eyes, Raleigh was the dark horse, who surged and posed one of the biggest challenges for MVP since recent memory. The race. How close was close? When the votes were cast by the Baseball Writers Association of America, the BWAA, the margin between Judge and Raleigh was razor thin. Aaron Judge received 17 first-place votes. Cal Raleigh received 13. Points-wise, Judge finished with 355 points, Raleigh 335 points, a difference of just 20 points. It marked the closest AL MVP race since 2019, when Mike Trout edged out Alex Bregman by the same first-place tally, 17-13. What this means, the voters were essentially split. Both had compelling cases, both had seasons that demanded respect, and yet, only one could be named MVP. Why Judge's season tipped the balance? From the vantage point of a reporter tracking baseball for 20 years, here's the reasons Judge pulled ahead. Breadth of dominance. Judge didn't just hit home runs, he dominated across the board, leading in batting average of .331, on-base percentage and slugging, extra base hits, walks, total bases. According to the Spokesman Review, Judge led the AL with a batting average of .331, 30 doubles, 2 triples, 53 homers, and 114 RBIs. Sports Illustrated noted /line .331, /.457, /.688, 53 homers, and 114 RBIs. That level of all-around productivity is rare for any player. Context of his team and market. Judge plays in New York. In the legendary Yankee Stadium, under intense spotlight, he faced the toughest scrutiny, the biggest stage. Some voters may factor that in. The pressure, the expectations, the year-to-year consistency. Consistency and legacy. Judge wasn't a fluke in 2025. He had established himself as a superstar previously, secured 2 MVPs already. Voters often reward consistency and reputation. A third MVP solidifies one's place among elite company. Metrics beyond home runs. Though home runs are sexy, the trio of batting average, OBP, slugging, and that OPS of .1144 shows he wasn't just swinging for the fences. He got hits, got on base, made value. Some advanced metrics folks weigh that heavily. All of these factors likely helped tilt the balance toward Judge when voters filled out their ballots. Why Raleigh's case was so strong and heartbreaking. But let's be brutally fair. Raleigh's case was nothing short of spectacular, and in many eyes, deserved. He smashed 60 home runs, the most ever by a primary catcher in MLB history. He hit over 120 RBIs, 125 to be precise. He caught 1,072 innings and started 119 games at catcher. The most demanding defensive spot, hamstrings, knees, back, the job's brutal. He led the Mariners to their first AL West title in decades, or at least one of their best seasons in franchise history. Many analysts argued that his combination of offensive explosion and defensive workload, catcher, made his value hidden, yet enormous. In short, if you prioritize position difficulty, durability, and historic power numbers, you could easily argue that Raleigh should have won. And indeed, many fans did. The reaction across baseball saw a split, celebration for Judge and sympathetic what if for Raleigh. The debate, what does most valuable really mean? This is the heart of the conversation. What do voters value? What should we value? Let's unpack. Home runs versus overall value. Raleigh leads in home runs, arguably the flashiest stat in baseball, but Judge leads in the broader categories, average, OBP, slugging, and in-team context. So the question, is MVP about leading in one category or leading across categories and being the best player? There's no absolute answer, but this debate matters. Position and team context. Catchers typically have lower offensive numbers because their job is exhausting. Raleigh's accomplishment is rarer because of that. Some argue that should increase his value multiplier. On the flip side, Judge plays in a high-performing offense in a big market, and his numbers are monstrous for his position, outfielder. Narrative, legacy, and fatigue. Humans vote with narratives, always have. Judge's already established legacy might give him an edge. Raleigh's still building. Voters might subconsciously ask, who has proven it over time? Judge, yes. Raleigh, this season was his breakout. The team effect. How much did the player lift the team? Raleigh's team made noise. The Yankees are perennially relevant. Does MVP mean the player makes his team better, or is already on a good team? There's no absolute answer, but this debate matters. The closeness of the vote. A margin of 20 points and 17-13 first-place votes shows how fractured opinions were. Whenever a race this tight happens, it prompts deeper reflection on criteria. Who deserves it versus who earned it? What this means for the sport. Here are some reflections from 20 years of watching this game. Catchers get more credit now than they used to. Raleigh's performance signals that the era of offensive catchers being overlooked might be shifting. When a catcher posts 60 home runs and leads the league in RBIs, the voters notice. The importance of full-season excellence. Judge's win underscores that voters reward full-season dominance across many metrics, not just one flashy stat. For players aspiring to MVP, the lesson, be well-rounded. Market, media, and context matter. In big markets like New York, players get more visibility. That doesn't degrade performance, but it shows the ecosystem around the player shapes perception. The value of narrative. Legacy careers, like Judge, versus breakout years, like Raleigh. Voters must choose whether the MVP is the most valuable this year or the most valuable over recent years. That ambiguity fuels debate. Fan reaction reflects the broader question. The buzz across social media and fan forums, some angry, some thankful, many split, reveals how subjective the award really is. What to watch going forward? What's next for these two stars and for the league? For Judge, can he continue to perform at this level? Age and injuries loom for any player, especially one who has now achieved so much. Will he finally capture that elusive World Series ring to augment his MVPs? Market and media expectations will only grow. How he handles that will matter. For Raleigh, will he sustain this level of production? Catchers often decline faster due to wear and tear. Will his role shift? Perhaps more DH to preserve him? How will his legacy build? He's now firmly in the national conversation. For MVP voting and league design, will we see more debates like this, where the winner hit fewer home runs than the runner-up, but excelled across metrics? Will position difficulty, catcher versus outfielder, be factored more explicitly by voters in future years? Will analytics become even more influential in these subjective awards? Final thoughts. To wrap up, Aaron Judge's 2025 AL MVP is earned. His dominance across multiple statistical categories, his consistency, and his legacy all contributed to the victory. But make no mistake, Cal Raleigh should walk away with his head held high. His season was historic, especially given his position and role. The finest win margin underlines how valid his claim was. As a veteran reporter, I've seen countless MVP debates. Some are foregone conclusions, some are clear-cut legends being celebrated. And then there are races like this, close, compelling, conversation starting. The kind that fans will revisit every offseason, comparing numbers, re-arguing ballots, wondering, what if? For the fans in New York and Seattle, and around the league, the 2025 AL MVP race will be remembered not just for the winner, but for how near it came to slipping out of his hands. That's what makes it special.